My own expressions of sympathy and condolence to the family and friends of Warrant Officer Class 2 David Markland from 3-6 Engineer Regiment, Corporal John Moore and Private Sean MacDonald from the Royal Scots Borderers 1st Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, who all tragically lost their lives serving so bravely in Afghanistan this week. Mr. Speaker, reports that wounded soldiers will receive better compensation is a glimmer of good news on the day that we hear that injured veterans are having to pay for their own treatment abroad. But can I ask the Prime Minister about another hidden scandal that's facing our troops? Why are soldiers serving on the front line in Afghanistan receiving thousands of pounds less in basic pay than a new recruit to the police or fire service?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I have to assure him that the new recommendations on the compensation scheme that have been prepared by Lloyd Boyce and welcomed, I believe, as a review by the British Legion, are ones that will extend compensation in a number of areas where there has been controversy in the past, and we want to do the best we can by those soldiers who are wounded. And the Secretary for Defence will announce later this afternoon how the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme will be improved and in what areas, and how it would do more, particularly for award levels below the current high of 570,000, and it will introduce a faster interim payment. I have to say, as far as the pay of the troops is concerned, we have been determined to raise the pay of our forces at a higher rate than the other public services. I can tell them that for the lowest paid troops, there was a 9% rise a year ago. I can also tell them that there is a theatre allowance and there is the withdrawal of any requirement to pay council tax while they are in Afghanistan, and we're doing everything we can to ensure our troops are not only well paid, but they are properly equipped for the challenges ahead.
Clegg.
Mr. Speaker, thousands of servicemen and women are about to put their lives on the line in the biggest offensive yet in Afghanistan. They've been stretched to the limit by a government that's got its priorities wrong. Employing 800 people to do media and communications for the MOD, but not giving our brave young soldiers a decent living wage. Isn't it time to get its priorities right? Cut the bureaucrats and pay our soldiers what they deserve.
Mr. Speaker, we have always accepted the recommendations of the Armed Forces Pay Review Body, which is set up on an independent basis to take information and to take evidence and then recommend to the government. And I hope he will agree that when he looks at it, we have accepted recommendations that in the last few years have been for higher pay rises than elsewhere. I would also remind him that 70,000 civilian staff have gone from the Ministry of Defence as we have made the focus of our efforts our frontline services. And there will be more civilian redundancies as we use new technology to make available the back office services that enable the front line to have the best equipment. He cannot deny the fact that $14 billion in urgent operational requirements and additional money on top of the defence budget have gone to our troops, particularly for Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think it is really not fair to tell our troops that they do not have the equipment that is needed when we've done everything in our power. I asked the Chief of the General Staff yesterday, if the Defence Staff yesterday, if the proper equipment was available for any exercises we had to undertake, and he said he checked with those people on the ground, and that was exactly the case.
Dr. Stephen Laderman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Specialist nurses are going to be vital if we're going to meet the Prime Minister's commitment to one-to-one care for cancer patients, as well as helping people with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's to stay in their own home. But we know from the early 90s that when governments decide to squeeze NHS budgets, specialist nurses often can't get a look in. Will the Prime Minister guarantee that under his government